Hi everyone, and thanks for joining another session of Otis for Educators. I'm Joe Quadrino, and I'm a curriculum specialist here at Tech. Today you are joining us for formative assessment for ELLs using Pear. Today I have Nikki joining me in the chat box. How you been, Nikki?
I'm doing good, Joe. If you have any questions here at all, just put them in the chat box and I'll get those answered right for you.
All right, let's take a look at that agenda and get started. Okay, so today we are talking about Pear and how we can use that for formative assessment with our ELLs students. So on our agenda today, we're going to do a quick overview of Pear and we're going to take a good look at those assessment question options. Pear is an interactive presentation add-on for Google Slides. We're going to see we can add different types of questions, and we're going to see how exactly we can add them as well. We're then going to see how we can deliver our assessment. We'll see how we can get student interaction. Nikki will play a student for me. And then we're going to see how we can review the results of that assessment. Pear does collect data after a student's, work. And lastly, we'll take a look at the Flashcard Factory, a really cool feature in Pear where you can improve those vocabulary skills with your ELLs students. But let's start off by taking a quick overview of Pear. Now, Pear, remember, is a Google add-on. So if you've seen either of our other Pear courses on our platform, you know that Pear is an add-on for Google Slides. You can add on Pear. And Pear is free, but it does come with some paid options. Now, the key part of Pear here is that you can have a lesson that students can join. They can join your presentation with this unique code, and it allows students to answer prompts and questions, even to existing presentations. Now, I do want to note that this is not going to be an Intro to Pear course. We have one of those. It's called Using Pear with Google Slides. It's attached in the resources below the video. That course goes over the how-tos on, inserting Pear and doing all the step-by-steps. We're going to kind of take a quicker approach so we can really focus on assessment using Pear. If we're going a little too fast for you, I suggest you check out that Intro to Pear course first, and then come back to this one. But we will be going over how to add these questions and how to assess using Pear. Some other great features of Pear is that you can have students draw and write their responses. We can also add audio to slides, which is great for our ELLs. We're also going to see that we can embed website content, and we can also review our data. All of this is available on Pear. We're going to see a lot of these features throughout this course today. So let's keep moving, and now let's take a look at different assessment question options using Pear. What kind of assessments can we give? So Pear gives us several options here. We can insert a text question where students will write an answer. We can do a multiple choice question, which is exactly how it sounds. We could also insert a number question where students can write a number as an answer. Now, all of these three features here at the top, text, choice, and number, are free on basic accounts. Anyone can add those types of questions. If you want your students to respond to a prompt, it can be done. If you have a multiple choice question you want them to answer, it can be done. If you want them to answer with a number, it can be done. They're all free. The draw and draggable question types are both paid features. However, there is a way you can work around that with a basic account. I'll show you a cool workaround where even with a free Pear account, you could add draw and draggable question types. You won't be able to have that full customization, but we'll see that you do have the ability. The last question type option here is actually hidden in the corner, and I might even be blocking it over here. But this is to insert website content. And I actually like this for assessments because you can insert website content, for example, a Google form, into the Pear and students can complete the Google form without needing to go to another website. The form will be embedded inside the Pear presentation. So that's another kind of way you can assess your students, is by inserting a link to an assessment like a Google form. We'll see that as well. But now that we know these different assessment question options, now let's take a look at some of these sample questions. So right here, this is actually a prompt, so a text question, where a student will be able to answer the question pretend what your friend was absent from class, write what you would say if you had to explain the lesson. And they would type out their answer. That's an example of a text question. We also have multiple choice questions. This is a slide that I created. I inserted the images and text myself, and there will be a multiple choice option for students. This is a number question. It's a word problem, a math question, where the answer would be a number. This is a draw question. Now, I actually was able to create a sentence here. The dog barked at the mailman from the window, and they would be able to draw the answer. And then we have the draggable, where a student would just move the answer from either yes or no if they're ready to move on. And we also have embedded website content. Here is a link to the Google form that students will have access to when they see this slide. Now, I kind of gave you quick previews of all these different question types. We're going to now get into them more in depth as we talk about how to add questions. So in this next section on adding questions, we're going to see what we can do, how we can do it, and what is it going to look like for students. So when we add a question on Pear Deck, we're first going to need to open that Pear Deck add-on. So if you don't have that add-on, you're going to have to download it first, add it from the web store, and then you'll open it within Google Slides. Then you'll have the option to ask students a question. And this is going to add a question to existing slide content. So there's two ways you can create questions on Pear Deck. You could have slides that you already made and add a question to them, or you can use the template gallery, put a question and a slide into your presentation, and then edit the template. So with the template gallery, this adds templated questions that you can edit, and this is the only way you could add those draw and draggable questions for free. So if you want to add a draw question or a draggable question with the free account, you're going to need to start with a template and then edit the slide around that. So I'm going to show you what that looks like and more now at the computer. Okay, so let's pop over to the computer here and let's take a look at some sample questions. So these are those same questions we saw before. And first, to show you how to get Pear Deck open, it will be found in your add-ons. And you'll find it in this list here. So here's Pear Deck for Google Slide add-on, and this is where I open it. If you do not see Pear Deck in this list, you need to get the add-on. You could do it right within Google Slides, search Pear Deck, and you can download it. But we already have it downloaded, and it opens up this menu bar on the right side of the page. Right over here, we see our Ask Students a Question. These are the different options for questions we have. This first slide here was actually a template. Where can you find templates in Pear Deck? Right here in the template library. So when you open this template library, you have all these different options for different lesson builders, maybe because of the beginning, in the middle, or the end of a lesson. Gives you different kinds of templated questions. Or they even have different types of templates for learning development, critical thinking, or social emotional learning. Or even they have some broken down by subject areas. Maybe ELA or world languages. Even your littles, grades K through 2. But you can just search through here. Here's some math ones, and all of these are different templates that you can use. Now you'll notice that some of these templates are draggables, drawing slides. It'll tell you in the template menu. So like this one's a text slide. And what I actually have here on my screen, this pretend your friend was absent from class today, is a text slide where students will write their response. To add a question, it's very simple. For the template gallery, I'm going to pick one. Let's say I want to add kind of like a progress check. This is a draggable slide. And I'm just going to click it, and it's going to insert it into my presentation. Drag your dot to indicate whether you agree or disagree. Now, this is what the template came as. Students are going to drag the icon. I can change the text here to say, are you ready to move on? And make this a yes and no. And any of these templates here, you can change the text to make what you need. You could even delete the images and make new ones. You have full customization of how the slide looks. However, you will not be able to edit what the students are dragging for the most part, because that's a paid feature here. If I were to just click this draggable icon, that's going to pop up that I can change the draggable item. I could even add some because I'm working in this slide, but we're going to see with some other features, I'm not going to have access to them. So I could add more dots. I could update the slide, and that's how I would customize a templated question. Now, how if I wanted to insert a question to a slide I already made? So, for example, I made this slide here. I added all these words. This is not from a template. Which of these is a noun? I want to make this a multiple choice question. I already have done that. Students choose an option. But all you need to do is select the choice option while on the slide. And it's going to give you your multiple choice options. And I've already done this one. I could change these answers to match what is on the slide. And it's important to note you're not marking a correct or incorrect answer. There isn't a way to make an answer correct or incorrect. You would just have to know that when you review the data that for which of these is a noun, bear is the answer. All right, let's see how we can add a number question here. This is a word problem. How can I make this question where students will insert a number? Well, it's right over here. X students a question, number. And once I click on it, it's going to add this interactive question. There's nothing I need to do custom. It's just now students enter a number. It's as simple as that. Now, maybe for my ELLs students here, for this word problem, I might want to add audio to the slide and have the ability for them to have this question read aloud to them. So I can select Add Audio to Slide, and then I can record myself, or I can upload an audio file. So I don't have a mic connected to the computer here. You have the mic listen to me for the course. But let's just pretend I was recording something, and I was recording the word problem here so my ELLs students could hear. Once I'm done recording this, I save it, and I can add the audio to the slide. And we'll see in a few minutes that Nikki will have access to that audio file. The audio is now included. Great. So again, this was a question I just made on my Google slide and added a question after. This is a drawing slide. Students can draw anywhere on the slide, where this had to come from a template because I'm using a free account and I would not be able to just add a draw slide. For example, if I wanted to just add draw slide by clicking draw, I would need to upgrade to premium in order to just add drawing to a slide. But if I were to pick a template that has drawing on it, so if I go to the template library and I find one of those draw slides, let's see, here's a drawing slide, and I just add this to my presentation by clicking on it, now I have this draw slide where I could, let's say I don't want this image here or these little lines. I just want a blank white canvas for my students, and I want them to draw a picture of your favorite animal. And there's a slide. They're going to be able to draw on this slide. I changed the question. I could add pictures to who I want. It's, regular Google Slides, so I can go and insert some shapes. Maybe I want to add a shape here. I could fill it in, make it like a black box. You have all of your regular options to add content to Google Slides. The only thing I added with Pear Deck is now my students are going to be able to draw on it. So like we saw here, now my students, the dog barked at the mailman from the window. They'll be able to draw that. The last kind of question I want to show you is this add content from a website. So this is one where I have an exit ticket for my students, and it's going to be a Google form. All I did was I made the slide, I went to the Ask Students a Question, and went to Website. I click on it, and it's going to ask me what website I want to have linked here. It has a preview of that website. I already attached my form, and I update the slide, and my form is now attached. So Adding questions using Pear Deck is really easy, and what we're going to do now is we're going to see how we can deliver this assessment. What can we do and how, what can we do while we assess, and how do we get students there? We're going to see what it looks like for students. We're going to have Nikki try some of these questions. Hopefully she's been studying. Let's take a look. Okay, so to deliver an assessment, it's really easy. I'm just going to go back to my Pear Deck presentation. I have my Pear Deck menu open on the right-hand side, and I'm just going to click this green Start Lesson button. Once I click it, I have the ability to make it a student-paced activity or instructor-paced. Maybe you're working in a remote setting or a hybrid setting. You want a student-paced. But my student's right here, so I'm going to do instructor-paced. I click that. It's going to open up this website that's going to give me a code for students to join. Students would have to go to joinpd.com, and then on the students, and let's actually flash over to Nikki's screen now that she's at joinpd.com. All right, she's signing into her account. You do need a Google account. But once she's signed in, we're going to see that she can very easily, if she remembers her Google password, that she will very easily be able to type in the code that I've provided on my screen. It'll give her a nice little social emotional learning check. Nikki's feeling great. So the code we have, oh, she's already logged in. Great. So Nikki just logged in earlier. She cheated. She cheated to get into this presentation. Normally, she'd have to log in with a code, but it's okay. If she was already logged in earlier with the same presentation, she'll be able to do that. She was logged in earlier in my presentation. We practiced. Spoiler alert. Okay, but if we head back to my screen, we can see what it looks like when a student has joined. It shows me that one student's connected, and I can start the class when I'm ready. So I'm going to start the class. And now I can navigate my slides and questions here at the bottom, and my students will be forced to navigate with me. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Nikki answer these questions, and if we head to Nikki's screen, we can see her answer these questions in real time. So pretend your friend was absent from class today. Nikki's typing in her answers. Awesome. Today's lesson was really fun. We learned a lot. Great. And she could just click that little check mark button at the bottom, and there she is. Now, I can go to the next slide whenever I want. I have the control to move her along the presentation because we're in that instructor paste. So I just poofed her to the next slide. Is she ready to move on? Nikki, go ahead, drag one of those dots. Actually, drag both. We added an extra one before. Nikki needs some extra time with this one. That's okay. We're going to have to talk a little bit more later on. But again, whenever I'm ready, I can poof her to the next slide. There we go. She was paying attention to what nouns are. And again, I can just keep moving. Now, Nikki has the ability to listen to that audio here. So the audio is included where she can listen to the audio. Great. So Nikki can type in an answer. That's some really quick math. Nikki, I bet you studied beforehand for this question. Now here's the draw. Nikki can draw the dog barking at the mailman from the window. She has access to different colors, pens, highlighters. She can even add text, and she has this ability to draw. Now, if we actually flip to my screen while she's drawing, on my end, I have the ability to show responses. So I can actually click on the show responses, and this actually shows me what Nikki is doing. If I had more students, it would show me all of my students. And I can do this for any of those question types. So for example, I'm going to skip to the next question here, and Nikki could draw a picture of her favorite animal. And I'm going to show responses, and I'm going to watch Nikki draw. And as soon as she starts, I start seeing her response. So this is a great feature of Pear Deck that the teacher, even if your students are working remotely or in a hybrid setting, you can see what they're working on while they're doing it. Looks like she's drawing a starfish here. Cool favorite animal. All right, and the last one we have here is this exit ticket. If we head back to Nikki's screen, let's take a look at how she's going to see that the Google form is embedded within the Pear Deck, where she could answer these questions. Nikki, you can skip the email one just for now. Let's get to those important questions at the bottom there, where she could answer these questions and I will be able to get that feedback later on from a Google form. You know, it's a regular Google form. I would find that link however I am used to using Google Forms. Great. Now, whenever I'm ready to end this presentation, I can end it. So, Nick, you hit submit real quick so we don't lose those answers. And I'm just going to hit end on my screen. I can give it a name. Let's flip to my screen, actually. So if we flip to my screen, we should be able to see that we can end the session, and I can name my session. So we're just going to call this a practice session, and I can save and end it. This is how I'm going to be able to view that data later on. So delivering a presentation at Pear Deck is super easy. We saw it can be done with an easy link, students join with a code, and we're now going to see how we can review those results. All right, we just went over a lot of Pear Deck. We talked, we did a lot of assessment questions, adding questions. We went over how to deliver this assessment. If this was a little too quick of a pace, feel free to pause that video and rewind. Practice as you go. Nothing wrong with that. Also, like I said, we have those intro videos on Pear Deck that you should definitely check out. Now we're going to see, we did our assessment. How can we review the results? The presentation is over. Students maybe have left the room. As a teacher, how can I go back in and check out this data? Well, let's see how we can do this. To review this data, we're going to go to Pear Deck's website. So Pear Deck's an add-on, but it also is a website, peardeck.com. From there, we're going to be able to review our sessions, and we can even search by the deck name. Remember we named our presentation before? And we can review that deck data where we can open it and view the questions. We can see our students' drawings and their drags. And we can export the data to Google Sheets and view each student's text, choice, and number responses. So for those 5 question types, drag, draw, number, text, and choice, we can see all of that data from the Pear Deck website. Now, if you embed a Google form like we saw before, you would have to actually go to the Google Form specific sheet, the one that's made with a Google form, in order to view that data. But let's check out at the Pear Deck website how we can view the data embedded within Pear Deck. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to head to the Pear Deck website. I actually have it open here. And this is the Pear Deck website. Notice that I'm logged into my Google account. That's the first thing you're going to want to do. And once you're logged in with your Google account, you are able to view your sessions up here at the top of the page. So if I click on sessions, the first one I made, or the one I did a little while ago, let's see, is it here yet? Let me refresh this page. I don't want to upgrade right now. There it is. There's the practice session that I just made. Just had to do a quick refresh. If I want to view Nikki's answers to those questions, I could open up this practice session by clicking on it. And I just want to open the projector. The projector and dashboard with the free version is really just the same thing. And I'm back into my Pear Deck. Now it's just me, no students are here. And here I can view these responses. So this was Nikki's favorite animal. She got a little crazy drone with the starfish at the end. There's her dog barking at a mailman from the window. All right, I can check out her number response by going to Show Responses in the corner. And what it's going to do here for number questions for all of your students is actually going to put them on this kind of graph here on this chart. I can see Nikki's specific answer, because remember, she used a decimal answer. I can see that, and I can show you that in a second. That's going to be in that exported Google Sheet. But if I had 20 students in the class, I could get a nice graph of where all my students' answers are. Also note that this right now is anonymous. So I could even share this with my students in the room, and they wouldn't know who said what. They would just see, hey, we're all on the right track. Or maybe we're all over the place. This is something we need to review. How about that multiple choice question? If I want to show my response here, again, just show responses. And here are my responses. I know Nikki was the only student. I know she chose Bear. But again, if I had more students, it's anonymous within this menu so that everyone can see the results. Are we ready to move on? Again, I can show responses. And I have here my one student that she was not ready to move on. Sorry, Nikki. And last, our text question, where I can show responses. And students can submit more than one answer, like we saw Nikki do, and we have these two answers here. Again, anonymously. But what if I wanted to see a more detailed report here of what Nikki specifically did? If I had more students, how do I see what Nikki did? I'm going to go back to that session. All right, so sessions. And I'm at my practice session. But if I go to this three-dot menu, I have the ability to not only just reopen or rename the session, but I can export to a spreadsheet. So if I export this to a spreadsheet, it's going to open up, it's going to create this Google Sheet, and here I go. I have Nikki's answers, and it tells me the two answers she wrote right here, so I can open that up. Those were her two specific answers. For the drawing questions and the dragging questions, it's not really going to give you great data here, right? It's just going to give you kind of XY coordinates as to where her dots are and what her drawings, that she just did a drawing. But for her multiple choice question and her number question, I see exactly what she put here. So if you wanted to give an assessment where it was strictly text answers or number answers or multiple choice, you're going to be able to see a great readout of each student's responses.
I'd just like to add that one of the really great things about using Pear Deck and viewing those results is that the anonymous feature allows your ELL students to really take risks as they are acquiring new language and practicing some of those skills that they're learning in the classroom. You can show the results with the students. Students can see the results, but they won't know who had that answer. So that's really one of the best features I think about using Pear Deck.
Nikki, that's a great point. I mean, Pear Deck is great for ELLs because you have those multiple kinds of question types where students can practice different skills. You can do an audio question and have a text prompt. They have to listen to a story and then answer a question. There's so many different ways you can engage our ELLs, and that anonymous feature makes it even better. The last thing I want to show you today is the Flashcard Factory, which is a great way to improve vocabulary skills with your ELLs. So the Flashcard Factory allows you to create or import vocabulary lists, and then you can even use a built-in dictionary to provide definitions. It's a really easy way to make vocabulary lists. And then it even comes with this game where students are assigned a partner and they can create example sentences and illustrations for words. Now the teachers and students can approve a final set to make a final flashcard set kind of vocabulary list that students can review on their own using the website Gimkit. So, Flashcard Factory in a nutshell: teacher creates a vocabulary list, students get to write example sentences using the vocabulary and draw illustrations. Then the teacher and students can decide which illustrations and example sentences are the best for their final vocabulary flashcard set. The teacher sends them that flashcard set using Gimkit, which is connected and integrated within Pear Deck, and then students can practice on their own. So let's take a quick look at the Flashcard Factory over at the computer. All right, Flashcard Factory. Now this is something that you can access on the Pear Deck website. So I'm at peardeck.com. I'm going to go back home, and we'll see over here Pear Deck vocabulary. So if I wanted to create a vocab list, I just create a vocab list by clicking on that button. And I could type in my vocabulary. So for example, let's say I wanted, let's go with, what's a good vocabulary word, Nikki? I need a good vocabulary word. Give me something. Pear. Pear. Look at you. All right, we're going to do fruits in this vocabulary. So pear. Pear is our vocabulary word. Now, instead of me coming up with a definition, Pear Deck has built-in definitions that you could choose from. So the definition of pear, let's see. Yeah, it's a fruit that's usually narrowed towards the stem end. Yeah, and I can even edit that a little bit. I don't know what a poem fruit is. I'm just going to write a fruit. Maybe for my students, it's a little easier for them to understand. And then when I'm ready, I could just add another term. So I could put apple, the best fruit. Because apples are way better than pears. Unless it's Pear Deck. Pear Deck's great. But I can find the definition of an apple. There we go. That's a good one. And again, it's so easy to just add these vocabulary words. Now, when you're ready, you can play Flashcard Factory. All right? So to actually show you what this looks like, I'm going to go to a list I made earlier. And to show you that, I'm going to show you where this lives. So once I make this vocabulary list, we'll call it a fruit list. Every list that you make in the Flashcard Factory is going to live in your Google Drive. So if I head to my Google Drive, there's actually a folder automatically created called Pear Deck once you have the Pear Deck add-on and use it. This is where you could find your Pear Decks, any exports you made, like those spreadsheets with data, and vocabulary list. So if I click on vocabulary, my fruit list is already there. So if I wanted to, check out that fruit list, I could. But I'm going to go to school words. And these are my school words vocabulary list. And when I wanted to, assess my students in these vocabulary words and play this Flashcard Factory, all I would have to do is open with Pear Deck. So remember, this is a list I already made. It's saved to my Google Drive. I found it in my Google Drive, and now I can open with Pear Deck. And just like before, students are going to be able to join. We're going to play Flashcard Factory. And students are going to be able to join with a code. All right, so this is a great one to do when your students are in the classroom because they're going to get to see all the classes' different flashcards as they're made. It's just giving you that heads up. It has a code for students, so Nikki is going to sign in on her end. I'm going to know when she signs in because it's going to tell me, oh, it looks like we were looking at Nikki right now, so that's the screen she's got. She's ready. If we head back to my screen, we can see that the one worker has joined. And we're ready to clock in. So it's just Nikki today, but if there were more students, they'd be split into these groups and they'd be assigned a partner where one student would be in charge of the illustration and the other would be in charge of an example sentence. But let's play, and let's actually head to Nikki's screen for this. So what Nikki is going to see is draw an example of a pen, and she's going to draw a pen on her screen. And remember, if you had more students in your class, all students in your class would either be drawing an example of a pen or they'd be writing an example sentence with a pen. So, or, with the word pen. So this is a great way to have students collaborate. It's engaging. Students are working with partners. It's a great L activity. Now, when Nikki's ready, she can, say she's done drawing. As she adds multiple pens, there it is. And then she could write an example of a pen. So if you only have one student working on this or an odd number, one student would be in charge of both. So Nikki's given her sample sentence here. She writes I write my shopping list with a pen. Great. She's done writing, and when she's done, she can check it over, and when she clicks that check mark, we're going to see on my screen, as Nikki clicks that check mark, right here, we have that flashcard just popped into my factory where, if I have this on the screen, my students can see that all of these different cards are coming in. Now, when all of my students are done, I can go to the quality control phase where we can review these different flashcards. So I'll probably have maybe 5 different flashcards for pens with all the students in my class, and as a class, we can choose which one we like the best. For this one, we only have the one, so I'm going to approve that. That's a great flashcard. And that's all the flashcards we have, so we made an amazing set. When we're done, we can export this list, or we can print it so students have access to it later. All right, so we're just going to call this school words, export it. And this is a link that I could give out to students where they could review these flashcards later. So just to show you, I go to the set, and here we go. That one flashcard we made is right here, along with the definition and example. Flashcard Factory is a great resource for our ELLs students. It is a great way to engage all of your students. It's a lot of fun, and it really just is a part of all of Pear Deck's kind of mission here to engage students in the classroom. And that's what we got for you today. I want to thank you all for joining, for learning about Pear Deck and how we could give formative assessments for our ELLs. I want to thank Nikki for moderating and Marcello behind the camera for making us look so good. Remember, if you want to receive credit for this course, make sure you complete the quiz and survey. And if you have any questions, hit that Ask Otis button, and someone on our team will help you out. From all of us here at Tech, you're smart kids, I believe in you. Have fun, be safe.